So I went looking through a whole bunch of recent top eights, looking for something that could rustle my jimmies and bring some joy to my cold dead heart. And after shifting through a whole bunch of blue black scam and Grixis Delver deck lists, I did find one incredibly questionable thing. So let's do it. Hello folks, Phil Gallagher, aka ThrabenU here for another Legacy video. And Andrew gave me a dealer's choice donation deck list. And when I get these, I try to usually play something off the wall, or occasionally I use it to test something that I think is tournament viable and my viewers need to kind of see in action. And then there's this. It is no secret that I am a Winota stan. I really like Winota, Joiner of Forces. I think I have 5-0'd with her multiple times on this channel in various forms. And when I saw, or heard rather, that Winota had top 8'd a challenge, I was like, hell yeah. And then I looked at the deck list and went, what the fuck is this? The big Winota bomb that you can put in is Urza Chief Artificer. So it is a 4/5 with affinity for artifact creatures, specifically, not artifacts, for artifact creatures. Artifact creatures you control have menace, and at the beginning of your end step, create an Urza Saga token, essentially. So the idea is that in the early game, you get to lead on your Esper Sentinels and Ornithopters that you use to trigger Winota, and Springleaf Drum and Mox Opal can help you get to Winota a turn earlier, maybe even 2 turns earlier on an ideal draw. And your Ornithopters can then be converted into 4/4 creatures with the bottom mode of Retrofitter Foundry. And this is also a way to just increase the number of raw artifacts you have to grow your Urza Saga construct tokens that you get here or from Urza himself. When I look at this deck, I don't know what to think. I am incredibly critical of this list going into the league. Like, it is a Winota list that only has 3 Winotas. There are 3 Swords to Plowshares, 3 Brutal Cathars, 3 Urzas, 3 Seasoned Dungeoneers. And there has either been a ton of love put into this deck list to come up with these specific numbers, or this is a very sketchy list that maybe isn't going to cast its spells. I'm going to play the list as is. I'm not going to cannibalize it and fix it. I'm going to see if I am wrong. But I think the mana's pretty bad. I think the numbers are sketch. But this is the only thing that rustled my jimmies. And the jimmies must be rustled for the audience. I've played a couple too many like Psychic Frog decks in a row, and we gotta keep those numbers up. As far as the sideboard goes here, you'll notice that the sideboard is very blue heavy, whereas the main deck is very white heavy. That's why there are fetch lands for Tundras specifically, to just kind of increase the number of things that actually can cast things like Flusterstorm and Blue Elemental Blast. I think if I keep talking about the sideboard, I'm just going to say negative things, so let's hop into the video here. Let's see if this deck is good and I am wrong. Let's see if it feels good to put an initiative creature into play. That's something we have not done in a hot minute on this channel. That deck has fallen off the face of the format. And should you need your Urza Chief Artificers or other cards from this deck, please consider checking out my sponsor, TOAMagic.com. That's Tales of Adventure. They've treated me very well, and they treat their customers well. You get 5% off on your order if you use promo code ThrabenU, and every order does get free shipping too. All right. Wish me luck, chat. We're going to need it today, I think. I imagine that this hand ends up being playable on the draw where I just get an extra card. Any bomb that I draw will be castable. I have an Esper Sentinel to help with some initial card advantage. I will need something off the top, but it can be damn near anything other than mana. So I think this is fine. Actually, Urza Saga is a hit too. So like Saga, Retrofitter Foundry, any medium to large size creature is a basic. Opponent gets their draw. That's a bad draw. Hey, Livy. Human. Uncounterable human. Going to put an Ornithopter into play in case I need to attack with it next turn. I guess I can Springleaf Drum too. Weird lag burst. And then after that resolves, Springleaf Drum. So we have 3 mana in play on turn 1, 5 mana on turn 2 if we need it. And we just need a reasonable draw. Cool. Rip Esper Sentinel. Hello, Esper Sentinel. Welcome back. Esper Sentinel is just an okay draw. But if we miss on drawing a reasonable threat for too many turns, I just won't be in this game. Sure. It'll land drop. Just going to fetch to thin here. I'm already very wastelandable. Thank you, deck. Very cool. We are 3 draws deep. We have not seen a threat yet. Sure. There's a Surveil land. I'm not crazy for thinking it's reasonable to hit a threat, right? It's any of these, plus Urza Saga, plus Retrofitter Foundry. Yeah, 17 hits, plus a handful of medium power level things. Tamiyo gets to do Tamiyo stuff now. Land drop and pass. Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Or another one of these on human. Yeah. I'll pull planes out of the deck. This triggers on clerics, rogues, warriors, wizards. This is not any of those. This is a human soldier. So we're passing the turn here. Fatal push on the Esper Sentinel. That seems weird to me, when you can just crack a clue and get the Seasoned Dungeoneer itself. Never mind. Alright, so now I'm going to lose the initiative and lose the game. My opponent can just attack in with all 3 of their creatures. I block one of them. They get in for the initiative. Ornithopter doesn't have power. And we could kind of give up. Yeah, I'll play it out for another turn or 2, I guess. But the game's over. We did not successfully draw cards off Esper Sentinel. We did not successfully top deck a bomb in the first 2 draw steps. Well, let's see what this card does. Black, blue, this is going to cost me 2 life. Yeah. Would have been much scarier early on, but hopefully it's still fine. Mana, cracking a clue. And this does have menace as long as I continue to control Urza. Orc token's getting big. Tamiyo's swinging. Cracking a clue. They can crack another clue if they want the Planeswalker. So they'll plus this turn. Next turn they can get back a Dismember to answer my Urza. Sure, that's fine. Man, I can't really afford to be missing on draws right now. I can trade this construct token for the Orc army. Or no, this is going to make that not true. Yeah, I guess I'm just chilling. That sucks. I don't think I can trade this in combat. I'll just make another construct. But life's pretty terrible. I'm at 10. Alright, so there's returning the Dismember. Wastelands, whatever. That's borderline irrelevant at this point. I lose the Urza. Tamiyo will crash in. Now these no longer have menace, just FYI, the Urza is gone. Retrofitter Foundry does not do much here. Not like it does nothing, but well, okay. Now these are actually 5/5s this turn because my opponent got that Dismember back. I think I'm just going face here. Threatening to take back the initiative matters. Yep. I'm going to lose one of these. I take 3 bodies off my opponent's board, meaning that I prolong this game, which is not a good thing when I do not have the initiative. Sure. So my opponent gets another card draw here. That is a poor play, right? That just obligatorily transforms that Tamiyo. My opponent could have attacked first and gotten a clue token out of that. So I think that was actively bad. I'm probably not used to playing with the Undercity. There is an 8/8 Murktide Regent. Yikes. At this point, I get attacked, go to 2. My opponent gets thrown to the dead 3. I think I'm just going to concede. Feels like my sideboard's garbage? Yeah, feels like my sideboard's garbage. This is overcosted for what it does and is not great at answering things like Murktide Regent. Haywire Might doesn't matter. I should at least replace that with maybe a Pithing Needle that can go on Wasteland or the backside of Tamiyo. I could play something like a Rest in Peace. Helps the larger Murktide Regents from getting in play. It's like trim one creature. Okay. And is glacially slow. This turn 2 Urza Saga with no play turn 1 or turn 2 that's relevant. I don't like it. 1, 2, 3. If I count this as a mana source, 4 towards this. This feels bad. I don't easily cast Swords to Plowshares either. Feels like this just loses. We'll go to 5. That is not a keepable hand. We'll go to 4. Well, we have a keepable 2-card hand, and we get to keep a couple more of these. You are going back. You are going back. This is a way to get colored mana. I'll get rid of the secondary Retrofitter Foundry. So let's go bam. Bam. Be dead to Wasteland. Underground Sea. And Tamiyo. Sure. Winota is cool. It's not going to be super castable, but it's cool. I think I will sorcery speed do this so that I can deploy this Retrofitter Foundry and grow my construct tokens further. Seems like opponent has a Force of Will and they are thinking about whether or not this is going to be worth it. I'm slightly wrong, it's a Force of Negation, but we take a Psychic Frog out in process, so I am incredibly happy with that trade after mulliganing deeply. Tamiyo will make her clue, and then we'll see what my opponent has as a follow-up. Oh, joy. Well, kinda sucks for me. I will be floating a mana here. If I make the creature, will my opponent Ratchet Bomb in response? I have a Pithing Needle. Let's find out. Let's find out. Damn. Make a mana. Get a Retrofitter Foundry. Put this on human. Then make a servo. I can cast an uncounterable Winota this turn if I don't do things the way that I did, but I don't get the attack trigger, and I would like to Winota and get the attack trigger in the same turn if possible. Like, not telegraphing to my opponent that they need to answer something, or, like, it's over. Tamiyo is going to flip. My creatures will be weaker. Oddly, I am hoping to top deck a mana source here. Sure. Great. Yeah, that sucks. I'll take 2 to do that. This is not actually attacking for any points of power, so I'll pass the turn here. I can still maybe spin this game if I happen to draw a red or white source and then hit well with the servo. Negative, that does not cast the things that I need to be working with here. I'm ready to be savaged by Orcish Bowmasters. I guess this is not actually attacking for any points because of this trigger. Okay, it's a Fatal Push instead, sure. Alright, play Urza Saga and pass, and things get very awkward if I top deck a colored mana source. Tamiyo pluses. New Tamiyo comes out. Alright. So my opponent is about to draw half of their library, which means I need to Winota this turn if I want to have a chance at realistically winning. I'm dead to a removal spell. Yeah. Oh? Doesn't really matter where I attack. The thing that matters is this trigger. Are you going to fucking stifle me right now? God damn it. Alright. GG's. Today's video is sponsored by Moxfield.com, and honestly, they're just the best at what they do. If you need to keep your deck lists online, this is the way to do it. They have all sorts of different viewing options. You can condense that text if you like things to be tight. You can make them visual grids. You can put them in stacks. You've got all sorts of different ways to kind of view and visualize your deck lists, and they also have some really cool functionality, like allowing you to see playtest hands and even fully playtest your decks. So check them out. All right, we have a pretty boring opening hand here. It's just Urza Saga Ancient Tomb, so, you know, we're not going to make any decisions for a while. We're playing against Eldrazi. That's why we played out the Mox Opal, even though it didn't do anything immediately. We are going Ancient Tomb and passing. So we're going Construct Token, plus Canonist. Awkward that I can't really play the Canonist in this turn cycle, because some glaring Fleshraker lines are very possible off of 2 soul lands. Hey, speak of the devil. Okay, cool. So the worst case scenarios did not happen. So let's see what we can make of this then. These are 2/2s. These are 3/3s. Do I care about Haywire Might? Not really. It's either probably Retrofitter Foundry or Shadow Spear. I think I like Shadow Spear. I will Cavern of Souls, Cavern on Human. And we don't have Lava Spur Boots in this deck. Springleaf Drum. Tap for white on Human. I think this is better than equipping Shadow Spear. This just limits my opponent's ability to multi-spell with Glaring Fleshraker, which feels like the most important thing that's happening right now. I guess Kozilek's command could remove Canonist while making a bunch of Eldrazi Scions. Thought-Knot Seer is fine. I don't lose that much by my opponent playing that. And hopefully my Shadow Spear makes it so that I remain the beatdown. Okay, that they can play another Chalice just to ping me for 1 and make another spawn. That's fine. Note that Canonist's wording is non-artifact spell. So, Swords to Plowshares. That's actively good. Yeah. 2-man. Go ahead and equip here. If I Swords Thought-Knot Seer, this Canonist gets to attack, in which case I should not have equipped Shadow Spear first. I think I'm trying not to use this Swords immediately. Okay. My opponent takes 7. I believe, despite the value that I get by removing this, I think Glaring Fleshraker is the thing that is scariest here. I'm going to go ahead and remove that and pass turn. Like, Glaring Fleshraker is the thing that can make me go from 20 to dead. I don't think I need to worry about this value. Alright, still think my sideboard's trash. This is incredibly inefficient at removing Eldrazi at its face value unless you start pitching cards, which I think is problematic. Yeah, I think I'm basically rocking a 0-card sideboard. We could Pithing Needle Eye of Ugin rather than play Haywire Might. Haywire Might does hit some things like Chalice of the Void, which in theory shouldn't matter that much. If my opponent puts it on 0, it's not that bad. If my opponent puts it on 1, it sucks a bit. I might have to play these. I don't want to. I guess these in theory aren't the best. Could make this substitution. And Lavinia's stuff is with non-creature spells, so it's not like it helps with my opponent casting creatures ahead of curves off soul lands. Play, activate, Winota, attack. It's not the best. This is too much mana, but I don't know that this is going to be worth throwing back ultimately. Brutal Cathar is great. I will just play Retrofitter Foundry here. So we probably avoid getting Thought-Knot Seared this turn, which is cool. Gonna be Eldrazi. Oh, it's Wastegate Battle Mage. Sure. That's actually quite inconvenient. This is a human, so my Winota is now much worse. I also don't want to Brutal Cathar this. I will pass turn, take 2, and then Swords whatever better creature my opponent plays this turn. Sure. 2 damage doesn't matter here. 18. Opponent's chilling. I hate it. We will thin a land out of my deck. Don't want to be drawing more land here. Ornithopter is not good, so I'll play it. There's a very weird conversation to be had about Wasteland here. I believe it is correct to do this. Super weird. Super weird. So the reason to do this is that I don't want to get Wastelanded and like be easily taken off of Winota. A Dismember? Well, good news is my opponent has made an error. The bad news is I don't think it matters. So they are supposed to let their... Or no, this is not an ETB trigger. This is a kicker. JK, I lied. So, you know, if this was a creature that has an ETB trigger, you let it get exiled and then you reuse the ETB trigger, but it was kicker. So my bad on that. I misspoke. Ugh, this is frustrating. I'm going to lose a land still. Okay, cool. This is according to plan, though. That isn't. So the plan was white to red. That's not happening anymore. And I lose another land next turn. Oh, this deck sucks. Oh, this deck really sucks. Oh well. Is it another one? I'm just going to concede. We're not playing Magic anymore. Like, I am never getting to this Winota. Maybe I Pithing Needle Wasteland over another Canonist. This hand does not do anything. This hand does not do anything. This hand does not do anything. Do I have to keep this one? 1, 2, for both of these on turn 1. Like, keep these 5, hope that this works out. I think that's where I'm at. This is terrible, though. Yeah. And then both of these. That's going to leave me at 18. Opponent has mana. Acceleration of their own. Okay. Human. So this is my opponent's chance to play something like a Glaring Fleshraker. Yup. Sure. So, yeah. Yeah. Uncounterable. Get my planes. Play my Mox Opal so I don't lose it to a Thought-Knot here, and pass. I pretty much instantly just lose the game to a removal spell for Seasoned Dungeoneer. It's another Glaring Fleshraker. That is going to ramp up damage very quickly. Yeah. Alright, opponent's going to continue going. Oh, a Dismember? Sure. My opponent gets a Snow-Covered Waste. I'm done. We're out. GG's. Opening hand does not make enough mana to cast the cards in my hand. Opening hand is bad. Guess we're keeping it. And I decide whether, like, which one of these I am throwing back. Seasoned Dungeoneer just doesn't really work with anything that's going on right now. Like, I'm going to funnel mana into this for a few turns. But I am very, very unimpressed by the power level of this deck thus far. I do not know how this deck top-8'd an event. Feels wildly inconsistent. Yeah. It also just kind of feels like it loses to everything. Ooh. Card for me? Card for me. Sure. Spell Bomb is very good here. There's a Thought Cast. Alright, opponent's going. That's another Esper Sentinel. That's fine, I guess. I'll do my attack for 1. Opponent goes to 19. There is a discussion about which one of these I play. Oddly, I think it's Caracas. It's very strange, but I think I need to be able to represent Swords to Plowshares. Are you going to attempt to counter my spell that is going to draw me a card off Esper Sentinel on my uncounterable spell? No, I will not pay. Alright. Well, I don't know what to say here. We take those. Opponent just drawing a card. It's Blue Painter. Here. I draw a bunch of cards. I have multiple Swords to Plowshares. I don't have the ability to cast multiple spells. My Aethersworn Canonists don't really do anything here. I think this is just Urza Saga time, an attack for 2. I don't know, I can still play the Canonist. Yeah, I can still play the Canonist, I guess. It doesn't do literal nothing. It does close to literal nothing. Like, there are some bot cast Force of Will based lines that, like, could happen. Alright, there is a Painter. I do enjoy drawing cards. Yes, and yes. Before this extra mana is in play, I'm going to attempt to Swords Painter. Alright, there is Force of Will. And now I can just Swords the Painter on my own turn here. Sure. I will make a land drop I will Swords Painter. Wow. Lol. Oh, wait. My Canonist kills me. Oh, that's so tilting. Guess those attacks don't make sense. Not that this one is accomplishing a lot either. Alright. We can continue to cast artifacts. I don't believe that we are going to lose to the player who countered my uncounterable spell while it drew me cards. That's so fucking tilting. Sideboard still looks like trash. Can board in about 3 cards. I guess I can think about this. Does not feel like that does a lot. This also doesn't do a lot though, so yeah. This gets in the way of my march that I'm boarding in. This deck is terrible. I guess. Oh, I'm sorry, I tried to find something interesting. This was literally the only interesting deck list that I could find. And it is just absolutely tripping all over itself. Yeah. Alright. How quickly is my opponent going to come out of the gates? My opponent let me draw a card off Esper Sentinel. Wild. Okay, sure. Another Urza. That's not ideal. So we'll Springleaf Drum into Haywire Might, into Springleaf Drum, and next turn I can Seasoned Dungeoneer, and that will also allow me to hit my land drop. Sure. Opponent already at 15. There's an Emery. Bobble Recursion, obviously good. Finding a Painter is good. That Spell Bomb is insane. This is going to be frustrating for me. This means it's very hard for me to take and hold the initiative. Sure, take your card. So I have 6 mana, not in a way that lets me cast this Urza. I also need to take 4 off the Ancient Tombs so that my opponent can't just bounce Seasoned Dungeoneer and attack in and take the initiative in the same turn. Alright. Ow. 14. Right. Sure. I also now can't play this Haywire, or sorry, these Urzas, because they are not a particularly castable card off this mana base. Opponent down to 11. Sure. That's gonna scale up quickly. So my opponent can just target a Bobble, play a Bobble, trigger this, make a zombie, and then draw another card. So they take that draw. That does not cast these cards in my hand. My opponent will just kind of repeat playing the whole Bobble thing each turn. There is a Painter. I can exile that at will with... No, I can't. I can exile a Grindstone at will. Oh. Yeah, I'm pretty much at the point where I'm conceding. My opponent will just go wide of my stuff very easily, and Spell Bombs mean that these Urza Saga Construct tokens never mean anything. I'll take that hit. I'm at 12. Retrofitter Foundry. I'm just going to concede. We are not a functioning deck. I'm going to keep an Urza Saga Ancient Tomb hand, because that's what you do, but this deck is failing to be a deck in every capacity possible. Ugh. Basic Swamp. Alright, well, I mean, I know what I'm doing. No Entomb is great. An opposing Urza Saga. Sure. This is a Storm deck, having the Canonist in hand, I guess, is nice. So, yeah. Retrofitter Foundry, sure. Yeah. So, 3/3s. Ooh, I could Haywire Might. Haywire Might, the Urza Saga off Mox Opal, play new Mox Opal, and Cavernous Souls, play Canonist. Yes. Yeah. Goodbye, Urza Saga. Gain a little life along the way. Yeah, you may float your mana, that's fine. Mox Opal. It'll push a token, that's fine. It's annoying. Now I don't get my Canonist into play. Yeah. I guess I'll let this mana empty. Yeah. Don't do anything with this last mana. Hopefully I don't get stormed off this turn. Sure. The Liliana of the Veil. That's fine. Like, Retrofitter Foundry should overpower that. Especially now. Cavern on Human. Play Ornithopter. Play this. Pass turn. I can convert Ornithopter directly into a 4/4. I don't care about this Arid Mesa. If my opponent upticks Lily, sure. Opponent loses a swamp. And now my opponent is forcing me to decide whether or not I would like to make a 1/1 or a 4/4 immediately. I think I make the 4/4. I think I just want two things that can pressure an attempt to kill the Liliana this turn. That is not a castable card. Alright, attack Liliana. A Bowmasters is pretty good here. Yeah. So that pings Canonist, and then my opponent can block a Canonist, and then fog this attack to get an Edict. Yep, sure. So I'll pass turn, and Retrofitter Foundry can insulate my 4/4 from this Liliana. So, attempt to make a critter. Sacrifice said critter. Sure. Yep. So now I lose this. So I will just activate a Retrofitter Foundry at my opponent's end step. I can discard this Urza, which will never be castable this game. Alright, my opponent likes their card enough to not Liliana, which probably means that it's something like a Bowmasters that is just going to give my opponent value. It goes on human every time. I will attempt the attack. And it will go wrong in some capacity. Oh! Sure. That's weird. I'll pass turn and funnel mana into this rather than playing Brutal Cathar. Alright. What do you have that you like this much? I don't know. Let's make another servo, though. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're not there yet. And, you know, with that being an Urza Saga, we are probably not going to put mana into that for quite some time. Pass turn. Alright. Cool. We win. Sideboard still looks like trash. This for Planeswalkers. This can hit Planeswalkers, right? No, artifact, creature, or enchantment. Ugh. Yeah, this feels bad. This deck feels real bad. My main deck isn't working, my sideboard is not giving me any real options. And I frequently can't cast my spells. I don't want to mulligan to Oblivion versus Pox. Hand's very bad. I just lose to a Wasteland. I probably lose to Dark Ritual Liliana, honestly. I need something faster. Well, human doesn't work with Winota. Gross. I still think I keep the Winota. I think it is one of the more powerful things my deck is capable of doing. But this is awful. I've got an Esper Sentinel. Alright, that Urza Saga is very good against me. Opponent can pay for that Fatal Push, that's fine. Rough. I potentially have like opposition agent style stuff to worry about over there. I am going to get a wastelandable land, which is a little awkward. I think it's fine. I'm not trying to turbo out the Winota at this point. I am trying to keep that until I can trigger it, if at all possible. Yeah, that's fine. Yeah. But we just are not doing things that matter. Like my Seasoned Dungeoneer is actively going to be bad. My Winota is going to be smaller than my opponent's creatures by the time this comes around. It's not great. Yeah, I get bashed for 4. I've still not gotten anything that could trigger Winota. So I'm playing Winota as a blocker, maybe? Either that or I am taking 8 to 9 points of damage. I don't have like haste creatures that are going to trigger Winota. This deck is just not functional. Let's just concede. It is not worth it anymore. On this game where I'm on the play, I'm going to get a little better at answering Urza Saga, I think. Okay. I will keep the boring activate Urza Saga hand. Sure. Maybe around turn 10 we can cast that. My mana is spoken for the next handful of turn cycles already. Joke's on you. I have no castable cards. You shocked yourself. Good day. A Pithing Needle. Can't really play that this turn. I just need to activate my Urza Saga for value. It's fine to put this on Liliana or Wasteland. 17. We've got a Castle Lockdwain, which is a source of card advantage. You've seen my hand. It sucks. Resolves. I did lose the Urza Saga that I slightly care about. There's a Mox Diamond. Shadow Spear is fine. Alright, do this thing. Do this thing again. Maybe fish out a Retrofitter Foundry. I could fish out my own Shadow Spear to make sure that this is never a problem. I don't think it's ever a problem, though, anyway. Let's go Retrofitter Foundry, land, Springleaf Drum. Do I blind Pithing Needle? I don't think so. I'll save it. Hit my opponent for 6. They're at 11. I think the difference between 11 and 10 isn't that much right now. That's fine. That doesn't do anything. This is a good sign for me. That's my opponent digging. Well, we won a game. But we won a game versus Pox, so... You know... Bar was low. Sorry, Pox fans. Well, we have Urza Saga plus Ancient Tomb. That's the only thing that I think has converted into wins thus far, so we keep the hand. Alright. Blue deck. Go get your underground, see. Oh, fuck. Alright, it's something different. We'll take it. Swords to Plowshares. We're just not going to let that get active. I can take out another creature if I need to, and then we can get Urza Saga going. Otherwise, I can Saga plus Retrofitter Foundry on my own turn. A Lush Portico. And another Elvish Reclaimer. Yeah, we'll take that out with Brutal Cathar and then get our actual game going. So yeah. Yeah. We are doing something that resembles playing Magic this game. But it doesn't really feel like I'm doing something powerful. Whereas that is something that is stronger than what I am doing. So, bam, bam, bam. Pass turn. So slightly longer term, I am going to have to keep in mind that the middle mode of this is creating Thopters, which can fly. That might be relevant for repeatedly blocking a 2020 creature. If my opponent ends the turn with this Knight untapped, I probably don't even sacrifice this Ornithopter. This can just be a 5 creature off of fetch land. Yeah, given that, I think I am just going to keep my flyer. Swords to Plowshares. Yep. That's my opponent's one spell for this turn, though. That's the good news. Sorcery Speed Knight activation. Okay, that's fine. Canonist. Alright, they figured it out. So now the Knight is tapped. I can attack with this as a 4/4. Is that the line? Probably. Just doesn't feel good. Can't even top deck a Winota and get a Winota trigger here. I'm so fucking upset. I'm so fucking upset right now. Yep. My opponent takes the 4. I pass the turn. I can make a 2/2 or a 1/1 creature for 2 mana. I'll get my Urza Saga Wastelanded, and then hopefully I top deck a red source. I can get a Winota trigger and make some headway. Yep. So Savannah for the Flagstones trigger. That is a tapped Wasteland in good news. Holy shit, my opponent is not Wastelanding me. Like, they just caused me to tap 2 of my lands to take no damage. That's so good for me. Actually, I block with Canonist. This is a non-human. That's weird, but it's probably correct. Red source, B, fuck. So, Esper Sentinel, activate Urza Saga, make another creature. Yeah, I'll send in 11. Fast turn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5/5 creature. Knight is still bigger. Your bird is fine. I feel like I've gotten away with murder by my opponent attacking with that Knight of the Reliquary. Like I still have a chance in this game instead of being just dead. Okay, seems like my opponent is just holding open mana. I will take some damage. Do this. And I think extra body. Like, the Winota triggers this turn are a pretty damn big deal. Okay, activate 1, 2, 3. Activate 1, 2, 3. Mox Opal 4 Winota triggers win somehow. Seems fine. Yeah. I guess I could put the Springleaf Drum into play too. Tapping that extra body might be relevant. Let's not. Winota. We have waited 5 No! No! God damn it. Let me have my fucking Winota triggers. Howdy Howboy. You're on my shit list. Let me do the thing. Let me do the thing. Damn it. Sideboard still sucks. That hasn't changed. So these are probably the 4 cards that we can think about. I don't think Fairy is strong enough. I don't think Containment Priest is good enough. Haywire Might is pretty mid here. I'm going to change that to Pithing Needle. Canonist kind of still continues to be bad. That gets me these cards. Is Haywire Might for a random Mox better than Canonist? Haywire Might is an insect and not a human. That is my evaluation. So this hand can put a Shadow Spear on an Ornithopter. No. This hand. Ornithopter, Mox Opal. Mox Opal is on. Play Retrofitter Foundry, play Urza Saga. Assuming a single land drop, I can start activating Urza Saga. That's not great against a deck that can tutor up Wastelands. But I think I'm going to try to believe. And if the general plan fails, Retrofitter Foundry making 2 4/4s is a thing. Renegade Rallier is a little spicy. Okay, I mean, yes. So Urza Saga, Retrofitter Foundry, Ornithopter. I guess you can make an argument that I play these in the other order for Force of Vigor. God damn it. Yeah. I still heavily lose out either way if my opponent has the Force of Vigor. Like, the thing that was making the hand keepable was the Urza Saga. I'm better off if I do it the other way. I just realized half a second too slow. Bird is fine. I don't think I Brutal Cathar that. I think I try to get a better card. Yeah, like that. Oops, all Ornithopters. So we'll take out Knight. I guess I play out the Ornithopter for if I miraculously spike a Winota. My opponent should just wasteland me off this Ancient Tomb most of the time. So, like, the point is moot, but, you know. As we saw with play 1 of this game, good habits matter. Like, there's some world where I have a 4/4 right now. There is a fetch. I get wastelanded, and we're chilling. Alright, it's been a while. So now you are a first striker. And slightly harder to target. I think I'm going to hold my Haywire Might. This is or transforms, right? Yeah, so if I can cast 2 spells, I can transform and get another thing. Opposition Agent, you've got it. New fetch land. A Once Upon a Time. Yeah, so for example, if my opponent now casts a second spell, they transform this back. I get to take something else. Wasteland is probably good for them overall. Seems like you attack, this has first strike, you're not blocking anyway. They figured it out. 15. 2 spells. Send in for 3. 13. I think I permanently answer the Opposition Agent. And then temporarily answer the Bird. Gives my opponent more life this way, but I should not expect that this is going to be around forever. So there's my 2 spells. Oop. Is there a removal spell, or is this another Once Upon a Time? Sure. The last card in their hand is the Wasteland that they revealed last turn off the other Once Upon a Time. Finding an Endurance, which is a perfectly reasonable magic card. Now, my opponent should cast it or something on their own turn. Otherwise, I transform Brutal Cathar again. Oh, that's rough. Well, yes. Now, the real question is, do I name Wasteland or do I name Knight? I think I name Knight. The issue with naming Knight is that it's still just a 5/5 that obliterates me. The dream is get to Winota. I guess Ancient Tomb Winota can luck sack my way there. I'm going to name Knight. It does kind of suck though, because like this incentivizes the knight to attack, but I would just probably lose to a 20/20 anyway. Opponent is producing 8 power, so like that's not great either. I do send my stuff back into my deck. Now, at some point, I will need to block. And the next question becomes, when do I start blocking? Because if I draw a Retrofitter Foundry, Ornithopter block convert it into a 4/4 immediately matters. And I want to lose as few Ornithopters as possible so that if I get a Winota, I can attack with it a bunch of times and take over the game. So I think this turn is no blocks, just take 8 to the face, and we go from there afterwards. I think you just get an oof against my deck, right? Rather than pick up like another knight. Yeah, that's fine too. Can't cast that. That doesn't really make sense. Riot Arbor, sure. At this point, I have to block at least one. So I think I'm going to do that. Let Haywire might die, gain the 2 life. Grist keeps gristing. That gets me to something that takes out Knight until my opponent grist minuses. Alright. Need my opponent to make errors, I think, is where I'm at if I'm going to win this. Oh god damn it! The fucking starts on the backside. Ugh. I have to play it anyway. So that's an objective error. You don't need to wasteland a land that is tapped on your opponent's end step. You can just go and wait until your own turn and then make those decisions with more information. You know, maybe there is a game-winning green sun play or something like that that you gain the ability to make. Alright, so yeah. Take 3. Lose 1 Ornithopter. I don't think I'm on outs anymore. Oh, and there's more. Yeah, no. Alright, concede. I could consider Lavinia for Green Suns. I don't think that's really good. It's a human, and I have enough other problems. Also hard to cast on curve. Got a handful of colorless lands. Yeah, I think I'm just running this back as is. No, that does not cast any spells. This is terrible. I'm going to lose to a Wasteland. I'm keeping it because this is the only way I think my deck has won games, but like this is just very bad. I'm going to put this into play, and I'm not sure that it matters for this one. I'm not at Metalcraft yet. It will be next turn. Once upon a time. Yep, okay. We lost. My opponent has a disenchant on a stick coming. My hand does nothing. I will concede this one very quickly. Spirit is broken. Deck was just not playable in any capacity. Basically, the only way we win this is if my opponent never has the ability to cast their spells. So we are going to aggressively attack Mana Dorks here, which is not what I want to do in this matchup. I want to hit the critical creatures that matter. But I'm not in a position where I can reasonably do that. So for example, my opponent does not currently have access to white mana. How about that Urza guy? Brutal Cathar, we'll take it. Yeah. Take out a Reclaimer. Have a Swords of Plowshares that I can't cast until next turn, because this doesn't do anything. Alright, that unfortunately is appropriate mana. So now Knight is online, Green Sun for Collector Oof is online, Life's bad. Alright, we have transformed. Heyo. As soon as this is in play, Metalcraft is on. I'm not giving up casting Swords to Plowshares here. So take 2, hopefully I'll get that life right back. Attempt 4 damage. My opponent must have something, like I know they have playable cards, so there's going to be some sort of like Endurance or Opposition Agent end of turn. Yep. On this board, I don't think I Swords to Plowshares and Endurance. I just don't think that is super scary right now. Whereas a Knight would be. Yes. Dismiss that. So it is night right now, since I started the whole day-night thing. going to try to cast 2 spells on my own turn, I think. Nope. Well, I'm going to attack, and we're going to see what happens. Things could get a little weird here. I need this Frenzied Trap Breaker to die. And we'll see how my opponent goes about this. So they are going to destroy my Shadow Spear, which is fine. So now this is a 3/3 base creature, and I Swords to Plowshares Endurance. And if the attacks didn't go through like this, I end up swordsing this, and my opponent will take out the Shadow Spear the same way, so that my Urza Saga can live. I've got a weird noise out the window. Hold on. I got a package. I've ordered more paintbrushes. I'm having a paint night with my friends. Mini painting, to clarify. That is a White of the Reliquary, which is not actually that big of a deal right now, because it can't get an untapped Wasteland to immediately answer my Urza Saga. So, like, my Urza Saga will make both tokens and disappear before this thing can do its job. That is weird. I think that Green Sun is much better used in other ways. So my opponent just did this in a way where I now get to Brutal Cathar one of these 2 creatures. I think it's the Reclaimer, oddly. And Ornithopter. I think I saved that in an attempt to flip this yet again. Although this turns on Metalcraft. This turns on Metalcraft, and then I don't need to take 2 points of damage. Okay, and I guess there is also top decking Winota to think about. Opponent also getting low on clock. I don't think that's going to be relevant here. Like, I think this game is going to come to a natural conclusion before time starts to matter. Okay, my opponent started casting something and then stopped. We'll see what that means. So there's 4/4. This has transformed. This thingy. 1, 2, 3, 4. Casting this turn comes at the cost of an Urza Saga token. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, I could like go +1. Yeah, so I think we are just not. An opposition agent. Sure. That's not bad. Haywire Might into the exile zone. So that can attack something like this and keep me from casting this. So this could be a 4-power creature. I'm still okay with attacking with this. Not okay attacking with this because this could become a 4/4. The opponent will put Dryad Arbor in front and then sacrifice Dryad Arbor. Wasteland is pretty good here. Like, Wasteland me off Tundra, Haywire Might me off Mox Opal. Wow. That's not what I expected. Like, why do you need that much mana? I'll shut up if there's an answer, but Renegade Rallier, sure. That gets Outland Liberator. Sure. Questing Beast. So this can't be blocked by creatures with power 2 or less. It does have Death Touch. I could trade these. Do I want to trade these? I probably have to trade these with this at some point. If my opponent sacks and kills this, this is still a 4/4 to trade. That seems fine. Sure. Alright, there's the Haywire Might. My mana was left untouched, meaning that I get to attempt to take out one of these creatures. Is this other? I could take out the Outland Liberator here, or I could take out the White of the Reliquary. Let's take out the White. And my opponent can decide if they want to sacrifice another creature. They've gotten rid of my Haywire Might. Could be a Sajiri here to protect it. It is a Thespian Stage. You got it. So I am casting this spell because this. The awkward thing is that Pithing Needle works on one side of this creature. I think I still name it. This is now a 5/5. My opponent could trade 2 bodies for my construct token. It could be these 2. I am fine with that. Ooh, opponent takes a hit. Sure. The issue here is that, like, my opponent can now just, like, pass the turn without playing a spell, turn this into Frenzied Trapbreaker, and then all of a sudden, like, my board's really bad. They're also not attacking to push damage back, which feels like a mistake. Like, they know I have this in hand. I am again going to cast this so that these things don't transform. It is just awkward. Now this is smaller again. This can get a Dark Depths though, which is kind of a problem. I'll send in with my 5/5, see how my opponent feels about that. Okay, now we are at multi-block time. I accept. I am taking bodies off the battlefield here and trying to eliminate the threat of the Outland Liberator flipping. I can Ornithopter block for a couple of turns. Oh, nice. So my opponent did not play a spell, transforming this, meaning that if somebody plays 2 spells, I can then flip this. I can play 2 spells. This can't safely attack. So we go blue, cast, keep untapped, then tap 1 Ancient Tomb. My artifact creatures will have menace. I get a construct. I flip this, meaning that I get to exile a thing. Alright, end step, construct. Opponent sacks their bog, gets their Dark Depths, stage copies depths. They make their 20/20. I make my token that is a little smaller than a 20/20. This is going to transform. When this transforms, I target their token. We'll see if there's a Sajiri. I don't think there is, because I gave my opponent to use one a chance to use one earlier, and they did not. Okay, that's fair. So my opponent gets all their shit back. And that doesn't happen. I can still block this for a couple of turns, but this is pretty bad. Alright. So I live to see another day. This gets smaller. And that is relevant. That is one of the worst draws in my deck. My opponent reasonably put... Yes, they can. Like, don't attack with this. I think an attack with this is fine. Yeah. That requires at least 2 creatures. I have Menace. Alright, 11. We are starting to get to the point where timeout is very real in a way that I wasn't really expecting. Sure. Obligatory block is obligatory. Alright. Now we see if I top deck an answer. I don't. Is this on ETB as well? No. So I will send everything in. Alright, all those creatures die. I can create an untapped creature. That doesn't really do me any good. I will die. That is a disappointing loss. Maybe I could have saved 2 points. No, it would need to be more than 2 points of life somewhere in order to survive. GG's. So one of my hallmarks for a deck being bad is when I can sit and like narrate all of the mistakes my opponents are making, like obvious ones, not ones where there's any wiggle room, and just have zero ability to do anything about it. Like we lost to a player who countered an uncounterable spell while also drawing us cards off Esper Sentinel. Like, and we just have no ability to beat that. Like that is just a good sign that this is not a playable deck in any capacity. And let's talk about all the deck building errors. The number one, there aren't enough things in this deck that trigger Winota. Like, there are too many humans in this deck list. Like, these are your humans, and your non-humans that are triggering it are like Ornithopters, Urza Saga tokens, and Servo tokens over here. And I guess Haywire might as well. And like, there are too many of these cards. All right, number two, the humans that are in this deck are bad. So, Esper Sentinel dies to Bowmasters. Brutal Cathar, incredibly mana inefficient. Either Sworn Canonist, what metagame are you in? This is not the metagame where we are trying to stop like Storm-style decks. We are trying to stop Frogs, Blue, Black, X, Midrange, and Tempo, and Control decks. Like, this is hating on the wrong thing. This is poorly positioned. This is inefficient. This is not a castable card with the mana base that this deck possesses, and is incredibly clunky beyond that. Initiative creatures are not playable in the current metagame because the blue-black X decks are just too good at taking the initiative back and then holding it. And the result is, like, you're bad at enabling Winota, you're bad at casting Urza, you are playing a bunch of cards that are very clunky. your best hands are Urza Saga Ancient Tomb hands, but you're not even playing 4 Ancient Tombs. I tried to find the spice, and instead we just walked face first into the spice cabinet and got a black eye. That's where we ended up. I literally do not know how this deck managed to top 8 in a Magic Online event. And we haven't even gotten to the sideboard, which I think is awful. Like, Blue Elemental Blast is not dealing with the primary portion of the metagame that matters. Flusterstorm is like Storm Hate, which is a tiny portion of the metagame. There is probably not enough Graveyard Hate to matter in this deck list. There's not searchable Graveyard Hate for Urza Saga. Lavinia does not seem particularly strong to me. Like, maybe it's fine versus some of the Beans style stuff where you shut off important finishers. Even then, this is hard to cast on the mana because, like, we are an Urza Saga Ancient Tomb deck. I am not the biggest fan of March as additional removal spell. It's very bad at answering some things like Murktide Regent that you need to answer. So congrats to Guy for their top 8, but holy shit, this deck was bad. Don't buy cards for this deck list, but if you need other cards, TOAMagic.com, promo code ThrabenU, save a little bit on your order. I don't have anything else to say. Have a great rest of the day. See ya.